Texas. They say everything's bigger here, and they're right. We've got big cars, big hearts, and even bigger steaks. This is beef country, Texas, home to the Alamo, the Cowboys, and the largest military installation known to man. So big, it has a big name. Fort Hood, the great place. It's got a Texas-sized podcast as well. And this is it, right here, Fort Hood's great big podcast. Yeehaw.
Hello.
Insert inspiring Martin Luther King quote here.
We had a long weekend.
We did.
It was
Federal holiday.
Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King
Went
Yeah.
by way
Junior
too quick.
Day. What did you do on your Monday? It's supposed to be a day of service, a day of celebration. Come on.
I went hiking.
All right, well, let's celebrate.
Went out in nature.
You communed with nature.
I did.
Kelvin.
I was finishing an article
Okay.
and doing homework.
Okay,
Oh.
so you did work
Yes, that was my service.
for the green machine. Yeah.
You expanded your mind.
Yeah.
Yeah. What a weekend.
You know what I did?
You ran,
Starve.
right?
I starved. Exactly. I did. I starved. But, yeah, the diet is still going.
Yeah, how is
But-
it going?
I'm 7 pounds in the first week.
Yay. That's awesome.
But I watched NBA basketball
nice.
because I have very little energy to do much.
Yeah.
And my Milwaukee Bucks lost
Oh.
to the New Jersey Nets,
I mean, it was close though.
who got James Harden from Houston. I'm not happy.
Highway robbery.
I know this is going right over your head, Brianna, but
is.
bottom line is that one of the all right. The two of the best players in top 5 players in basketball
Okay.
now play on the same team. Yeah.
It seems very obvious as to
The guy
which team will
Milwaukee
come out.
has
They're still not going to win.
Milwaukee has the reigning most valuable player 2 years in a row.
Ooh.
Right? He's really good, but there's one of him.
But there's no I in team.
Well, yeah, but there is an I in win.
Yes,
So
that's true.
You know, I'll go with that. But the bottom line is that the Houston Rockets gave up on James Harden, and
Well, I mean, he was being a baby. He was just.
he got a boatload
I'm not
of
gonna
they got a
play.
boatload of draft picks,
They did.
which means that they might be good 5 years from now.
Yeah, but not now.
And let's see, LeBron lost too. Did you see any of that game?
The Browns.
LeBron.
Oh yeah,
the
but
Lakers lost at home
They really don't
to
care.
Steph Curry.
Dang.
Game means nothing. You know,
All
it's
right.
just the regular season.
Hey, yeah, I suppose.
LeBron only cares when it counts.
Are we getting close to the finals?
Oh no,
No.
the
No.
finals.
Oh.
This is why I'm easing into this sports discussion, right? Because over the weekend you had the divisional round of the National Football League.
I did see some
see that
football
face over there?
stirring on my timeline.
Big Cheshire Cat smile over here. Packer fan, we won. We're alive. And live to play another day this weekend
Nice.
coming up at Lambeau Field, the frozen tundra.
Ooh.
But his hometown team, the
I don't want to talk about.
Baltimore Ravens,
He looks so sad.
their best player, by far their best player, was injured in the game.
It didn't
this
matter
weekend.
anyway. It didn't matter.
I actually heard about that.
And he was done. So his team lost.
How
was-
early did he get hurt?
I mean, it was already too late. It was in the fourth quarter.
Oh,
But
that's okay. That's not as bad.
Until they start calling the right plays. I mean, I'm yelling at the TV. You just can't run them all the time. I've been saying that from, the very beginning. You got to throw the ball.
Yeah.
So, how angry were you this weekend?
I was so mad.
He was so mad.
Still so angry right now.
Oh, I'm sorry.
After the game, I turned my phone off. I didn't want to hear it.
Oh, no.
Didn't want to hear it.
Yeah, I didn't reach out to him at all. It was not a good time.
Well, I missed a lot. I
Yeah.
was not tracking any of this.
Well, I'm not surprised. You're not a sports fanatic.
No.
Well, we'll give you a pass. You went hiking.
I did.
You are an active person.
Yes.
You're just not a team sports person.
No, never really have been.
And that's okay.
Yeah, it's just not my thing. Although I have, like many, I feel like everyone has this, but everyone sees it on their timeline and on their feeds. Things start to simmer, and so that's where I get it from.
Yeah.
But I only get a very small gist of it. So it's always, I feel like I'm just outward looking in.
I had to laugh when we were talking about food. In the last show, I'm listening back to it, and I go, yeah, he's talking about eating food. And I go, he goes, I don't want to mention that, Dave, because, you can't have it. You know what? I'll live precariously through you. And I was like, no, I'm going to live vicariously.
Vicariously.
Yeah, I thought I'd
It's
correct
close.
myself. We're right 50% of the time.
Yeah.
50% of the
time.
whatever.
Yep.
Yeah, half the time we're right, half the time.
Mm-hmm.
But
Exactly.
But I did see on your social media feed, you getting all dolled up and going out and all playing dress up.
I did several times. It was
So-
great.
Tell me about that. What do people do here in Texas when you are all dressed up?
So it always comes down to this. Elderly ladies love me.
Right.
They are so excited.
Right.
Elderly men meh, they don't really mind.
Okay.
I only get really negative responses and reactions to women that are like my age and I would say 40s.
Really?
Yeah.
Really?
Like the 30 to 50, I usually get.
You get the eyebrow.
I get the
stare.
And you know what's funny? They're always passive. They never say something to my face, but they'll make a comment loud enough to where they know I can hear it, but I just ignore it.
Wow.
And then people like, of course, younger kids, they love it, and teenagers, they appreciate self-expression, so they like it too.
Yeah, I don't know if you've seen any of her get-ups,
I
but
have
when
not.
she
I'm not a
dresses
Facebook
up,
person.
My hobbies.
she dresses up
Yeah.
big time.
Oh, just before we go any further, speaking of elderly ladies, happy belated birthday, Betty White. 99.
Oh,
Oh
yeah.
my
Thank you
goodness.
for being
I
a
saw
friend.
that. Yeah.
Dun-dun-bum-bum.
Happy birthday. Hopefully I can live to be 99.
Really? You want to get that far?
I mean,
Yeah. You
I
got your
wouldn't mind
health,
wearing a
right?
diaper. I mean, I used to back in the day when I was a little baby.
Go out the same way you came in, right?
That's true.
It's the circle of life.
All right. Circle of life. Let's talk real quick. Coronavirus. All right. This is actually another coronavirus show because we have hospital Carl R. Darnall Army Medical Center types coming in to talk about what's the next step in the battle against coronavirus.
Getting that vaccine.
Getting your shot on.
Thanks, Corona.
Right? And we will hear all about that and more right after this.
Hey, it's Melissa here from Fort Hood Shelter and Adoptions. Now is a great time to stop by and see what furry friends they have waiting for their forever home. Or, down boy, you can follow their Facebook page called Fort Hood Shelter and Adoptions. The great thing about pets that come from Fort Hood Shelter and Adoptions is, all right now, be good. They're practically free. Well, sometimes they're free. They just need a good mommy or daddy. So stop by Fort Hood Shelter and Adoptions. Check the Facebook page of Fort Hood Shelter and Adoptions. or even call Fort Hood Shelter and Adoptions at 254-287-4675 to make someone very, very happy.
If you've got problems and feel like you just can't get answers, there's a place for you to turn. The Inspector General's Hotline. They take your issues seriously. If you're at the end of your rope and need someone to reach out to, grab a pen and take down this number. 254-287-7209. That's 254-287-7209. The Fort Hood office of the Inspector General. They inspect generals, so you don't have to.
Fort Hood's great big podcast. 50% of the time, they're right. 50% of the time.
And we're back. Brianna,
Yes.
this week it's all about medical stuff. Did you get your flu shot this year?
I did actually.
You did. With the
Yes.
unit, was it like, get in line and
Yes, it was kind of like a whole flu rodeo show.
nice.
So yeah, I got mine last week.
Me too. I got mine when it first came out.
Oh wow.
Well, I'm off post and I
Yeah, that's true.
get to walk into a pharmacy and go, TRICARE for life.
Yeah,
There
nice.
you go.
Get
But,
those benefits in.
Yeah. Speaking of vaccines, we have some very important people here in the studio. We have the commander of the Carl R. Darnall Army Medical Center, Colonel Richard Malish. And we have Captain Eduardo Mendez, an Army public health nurse, who's the officer in charge, check this out, of the COVID vaccination operation
Yay.
at Cardamsey.
Oh.
And they are here to talk about the light at the end of the tunnel of this pandemic. Sirs, thank you for coming in and coming on today.
Yes.
Yeah, no, it's a complete pleasure to be here. We've got a lot to talk about, I think,
Absolutely.
and anxious to get some messages out there to the community.
It's kind of like, okay, America has been watching this unfold for almost a year now.
Mm-hmm.
We actually had Captain Mendez on the show February 20th,
Seems like a lifetime
2020.
ago now.
I know, it
We-
really
we-
has.
We did a little promo on that, saving you from the coronavirus since February 20th, 2020. But the bottom line is that there's been a lot of movement. There is the history, and I know we're going to get into all that. But the vaccine is here, and I think for newsworthiness, you have given out shots to the first group of folks, the first and the second shot, right? So tell me about the phases and tell me where we're at.
Well, before we get into that, I just want to thank you all for the opportunity, because this is how we're going to get things moving. They're already moving, but we're going to continue. Just like you said, we're going to get into the phases. But first of all, I just wanted to really thank you, take that opportunity.
Oh, yeah.
So
It's our
if you'd like
pleasure.
to move on with the phased approach.
Yeah. So there's a phased approach to getting the vaccine out, which we can talk about whether that's the right approach too, because I think it's interesting. It provides us some interesting problems to solve. But the phased approach basically is to make sure that if you're a first responder or healthcare worker, and by first responder I mean firefighter or police or something like that,
Sure.
that you get the vaccine first. And then within that, and I know you mentioned it as well before while we were chatting, that the deploying forces are in these phases as well. So they're prioritized to get
Sure.
the shot first. That's in a nutshell what phase one is. And phase one also includes the teachers, CYS, Child and Youth Services, daycare personnel, et cetera, to get the vaccine as well. And then go ahead.
Yeah, so let's slow there, because I want to take an opportunity to say the wins that we've had as we've gone through the phases. So as you mentioned, it was really quite an important moment to vaccinate some of these staff that were looking forward to this, because just as you mentioned, CYS staff, the ones that take care of our families
Sure.
while we were having to work, they were very appreciative. It's been such a joy to see them, because they were expecting this vaccine forever. As we just mentioned, we've been dealing with this since February. This is that light at the end of the tunnel.
Yes.
So as we're rolling through these phases, one important thing that happens as we prepare for the other phases is that these people become the champions for the vaccine as they go back to their workplaces. for those that may not be ready to take it yet.
Well, I get a champion for the vaccine. There are people out there that think, it's going to turn me into a zombie or whatever.
Right.
Yeah.
I see it in social media. We all see it in social media. The anti-vaccinators.
Yeah.
What do you say to those folks?
Yeah.
Well, I'll be happy to, as you guys can see me, maybe not on the mic, but
Yeah.
Brianna and Dave, you can see me.
Yeah.
I'm very happy. I was very blessed to be able to get the vaccine myself, being that we're the front line of this effort.
Yeah.
I don't have a tail. I think I'm doing okay. So
what was it like for you? Because some people are saying symptoms after they get the shot.
So before I answer your question, if you don't mind, to answer that first part that you were asking
Sure.
me, I think for me personally, I was one of those at some point where I was deciding, when this thing comes out, am I going to take it? Am I not? So I think one important thing to do is what we do in the Army, to make your risk assessment, right? So you're going to take it, find your why. Why would you want to do it? Why would you not want to do it?
Right.
So me personally, Sarah, you know this, I love to run. I start my day every day running. If I cannot do my 1 mile, I feel off.
1 mile? Come on.
It's the minimum.
Yeah,
if,
okay.
if anything goes
Alrighty.
wrong, I know I have 10 minutes to do 1 mile.
Yeah,
Okay.
that's good.
So anyway, that is what I was looking for. I know this vaccine is going to, at the end, provide me 95% protection. So that's what I'm looking for. That's my motivation to get it. And then, of course, I extend that, right? I have a family I want to protect. I don't want, because of what I do, I can bring this virus to my house.
Sure.
In fact, my life has been quite different since this has been going on. So that was another reason why I was doing it. And then I just kept going. I have my coworkers. Some of them, unfortunately, a little bit older, would be more prone to this virus.
Right.
So if I protect myself, and I'm protecting my family, I'm protecting my coworkers, and then continuing with family, I have not been able to see my parents in a year and a half because of this.
Right.
So I kept finding my reasons. So that's what I hopefully, when the time is for other individuals that have the opportunity for them to do so, find your why. And here's the other thing: if it's a why I don't want to have it, let's talk about it too. What is that reason? Let's provide you with resources and the education that may persuade you to go the other way. But let's just not stop at the rumors. So is there a tail that grew up, you were asking me?
Right.
There is no tail, and I can go into Google right now and I won't find that information.
Right.
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 And then it doesn't stop just at Google, right? If we do find something that is like, okay, maybe it's whatever resource that may not be very credible, let's go to the CDC and validate it. Let's go to other resources, your .orgs, your .edus, and validate those rumors.
And I think we can talk about, the population that you're talking about, which is a population that we know is out there that might not be getting the vaccine for various reasons. That's one population. But you asked me in the beginning, what were the phases?
Yeah.
And I want to finish going through the phases,
Sure.
just so you know. So we talked about phase one, which is the frontline personnel, the hospital personnel, inpatient and outpatient, first responders. The second phase is a population that I would say is different than the one that you just described, Captain Mendez. That's a population that is avid, enthusiastic, exuberant about getting the shot, and these are at-risk beneficiaries. They're typically over 65, and there's a whole list of things that they have to be, but they carry illnesses or comorbidities that put them at risk. And so that group we're going to get after we get those first here. And then the third phase is just everybody else, like you, Brianna, me, and the rest.
Fort Hood services a huge retiree population.
Yes,
Right?
Yes, and that group we can't hardly keep out the door because they're a different population completely than
Military retirees.
Right. And so you've been around.
Yeah.
The shot is completely voluntary, and that's something that we're very careful. For example, me as a commander, I have to be careful about undue command influence. I can't tell you, Brianna, go get the shot. It's mandatory. It's not mandatory. It's completely voluntary.
Even for soldiers.
Even for soldiers.
Oh, there you go.
So we've looked at it, and what we found out is that it's the younger population, soldiers typically, E1 through E5 into E6. Where
Specials do.
Right now. So, and you'd have these conversations and maybe I could talk to you, Brianna, about it, but if you offer a voluntary shot to most people of that age range, especially if they're not experiencing the COVID-19 pandemic like we are, they might turn it down. So we know we have to focus those comments that you made, answer the why, Captain Mendez, for that population specifically. Give them all the information that they need to understand what it is that we're trying to do. And what we've done in the hospital to try to make that better is just show them all the data. This is a well-run. We're using the Pfizer vaccine that a lot of people have heard about. It's just well documented how effective it is and how very few side effects and how much there's almost never an adverse outcome with it. And that's what we've experienced in a large number of our patients here. They come, like Captain Mendez and me and the different people that come into the hospital will complain about the little side effects, but they're not major. In fact,
what are some of those that you've experienced or we know of?
So Captain Mendez, you can fill me in here, but the most frequent one is pain at the injection site, but nothing compared to what you were talking about earlier, Dave, with like typhoid is a famous shot.
I've had the shingle shot. That one, I bet, hurts worse.
Yeah.
Shingle shot.
Yeah.
So,
when you get older,
you
gotta get a single thing.
And
I don't want to get older.
Sorry.
You got a lot of shots in your future.
No.
But it's just pain at the injection site, and it's a little bit. And this is me talking because I've had the 2-shot series, but we chat about it, because we want to know. I want to know what people's experiences are too, so that we can sell the shot. So there's a little bit of pain at the injection site, and the second time is a little bit. I would say a little bit more, and this is just my personal experience. But other than that, that's what I've experienced. The article that was published in the New England Journal, talking about the phase 3 trial or phase 2 into phase 3 trial, talked about body aches. So body aches and headache are most typically what you get. I don't know if you know something different, Captain Mendez.
The most commons are going to be again the pain at the injection site. It could be some swelling and redness there. Then the other ones that are most common are chills and tiredness, as well as headache and fatigue. But here's the thing with fatigue: it depends what you do. My personal experience, that was a very long week, so that fatigue was augmented perhaps because just what I was doing.
Right.
Yeah.
But it does tend to vary a little bit from person to person. But there's no fear as far as the side effects. It's actually the side effects just is a manifestation of your immune system response, which in a way I know sounds kind of counterintuitive, but it's a good thing to have them. Some people do experience a fever, low-grade fever. However, again, it's just the response that your body is getting to that vaccine, so that it basically is creating that memory that will protect you.
I think with the important, selling the shot, if you pay any attention at all right now to the news, after the holidays, there's a surge in the virus. Army medical professionals are being deployed right now to Los Angeles. First Med had deployed during the coronavirus. So, I mean, we're flexing military medical professionals to hotspots in the country. But why is there that, we're getting the surge because of the holidays. You talked about, saving your family. You're actually, our population is very young, very healthy. They're fit generally, right?
Yep.
They're military, but their families, that's a whole nother story. And I think that point, we can't stress that enough. Don't you?
Yeah, I think that is a good point. And, another thing, we talked about there's minor side effects, and they are minor compared to shots that you've had in the Army. There's something that you get from getting the shot. And again, I'm speaking about my experience, and that is that you've done what you can to prevent the illness in yourself and those that are around you. And there's nothing else that can be done right now to give you sort of this cloak of immunity. Like our PPE, we wear masks everywhere. If you have the shot, and again, I'm trying to encourage this younger community, you now also have this body armor that's part of your blood and bones that's defending you against COVID-19. And you feel kind of good about that because you're armed, or you've got your body armor on, and you've got
you've done your part.
Right. You've got the max sort of defense that you can. And what was the cost? Almost nothing. A little bit of a pinch and that's it.
I think it's one of those things, in medicine, especially Western medicine, sometimes we tend to be reactive to what may be going on. And this is one of those rare opportunities where we can be proactive, take that step to, just like he's pointing out, our armor. And then here's the other thing. We don't know what those long-term side effects are going to be for COVID. I mentioned on myself, running is very important. If I had COVID, I don't know what the impact would be on my lungs, any higher risk for blood clots.
Right.
And the same is for the rest of our population, which, by the way, if we're talking about the younger soldiers, they may be a little bit more risky. They may be smokers. They may be more sedentary when they can be. So again, just like Colonel Malish said, it's all about that body armor, that protection that you can take.
So how many people would need to get vaccinated in order for there to be kind of a herd immunity in the population?
Yeah, so Captain Mendez is probably the expert on this, but I remember asking this question in the very beginning, and you see different numbers, and what I've remembered is 70%, and this is probably not based on the specifics of the COVID-19 vaccine, but this was something that Dr. Fauci had said maybe a year ago at the very beginning, something like that. I don't know if there's better data than that.
So here's the thing too, when it comes to the numbers, we can throw numbers right now, but there's one great thing that's going on in order for us to achieve these, which is we are right now conducting still social distancing, wearing our mask, and so on and so forth. That's those important measures. So that number could be different just on those measures, because what we don't want to do is say, for example, if we get to 80% vaccination or 95% vaccination, but then everybody stops doing those other measures, then it doesn't matter what number we throw out there, because the fact is this virus is going to be here for a little bit longer. And unfortunately, we're talking about 95% protection. We're not saying 100% protection. So I don't want to speculate with the numbers that we would like to have, because those variables are very important in coming to that figure.
I think some folks out there, especially on social media, are like, well, if you give me the shot, I don't have to wear a mask again.
Yeah.
All right, debunk that, please.
So when we are doing our education before you get your shot, I want to point out two things. One, just like the Colonel said, we ask specifically, are you voluntarily taking the COVID-19 vaccine? And then towards the end of our education, we're also addressing this. Once you get your shot, number one, we remind them, come back for your second.
Right.
And then the other thing is, please continue to wear your mask. Please continue to do those
Why is
measures.
that important at this time?
Because just, you also mentioned this before. So I'm going to break it down into two things. To first address what you said. Yes, you may be protected. You may not have an issue, especially once you get the vaccine, but that doesn't mean that you cannot still carry the virus potentially, depending on what you're doing, right? So if you're going to football games or bars or whatever, and you actually come across somebody who has the virus, there's a potential that you will carry this. And because the vaccine is protecting you, you will not notice anything.
Right.
However, if I go to my grandmother's house, I hang out with somebody who's older and more prone, it's going to affect them.
Right.
Yeah, I think another way to look at this, and this might be a long rambling sort of narrative, but and I think back to where we were when the crisis started.
Sure.
Remember, we thought that we could contain it. Remember that back in February, we were like, okay, it's a Chinese thing. It's our goal is to hunker down and protect the borders. Remember how they said, okay, if you're flying from China, this was way back in the beginning, you have to come back in through these certain airports, and then we're going to screen you.
Right.
And I think the thought behind that was we're going to identify the disease as it comes in, and then protect it or isolate it, and make sure that it doesn't move and spread throughout the population. I think, and this day, I recall this day quite well, 16 March, mid-March, it sort of blew up on the news that this is not like an enemy that could be defeated at the border, but it was within us. It went from like being a defensive posture to being an insurgency. The virus was going to move around within our population, and we couldn't contain it at the border. So I like to think of this as sort of like a war. And that I think that works for our soldiers as well.
I think so.
Absolutely.
So I've been the beneficiary of a ton of military education, but you can break a war down into these phases. So the first phase is called shape, or phase 0 is shape. Second one is deter. The third one is to seize the initiative. Fourth is dominate. Fifth is stabilize. Sixth is enable civilian authority, and then you're back to shape. So that's the life expectancy or the life cycle of a war.
Where are we?
That's what I want to talk about.
Come on, sir. You brought it up.
So we were in shape and deter for a long period of time, right? We were there was nothing we could do to stop the spread other than social distancing.
Right. And there was a lot of you don't know what you don't know going on.
I like to think of the vaccine as the weapon that we will use to eradicate, and eradicate's not the right word, but to minimize the impacts of the virus. Because once we get that herd immunity, we're good to go. So we're now in seize the initiative. We're going on the offense. If not,
I like that.
Yeah, if we're not if we're not into the dominate role, and if we're not getting our shot, if a big swath of the population declines to get the shot, then I think we might bounce back into what was the first one? Deter or shape. And so that's why it's important for everybody to think we now have a weapon, and that is the shot that we didn't have before. And that enables us to go from one phase of the war into the next phase. And that's why I'm so optimistic, because now we're in control and we're not defending at the border. We're not fighting this insurgency of this invisible threat that's moving through our population. Now we have something that we can use to make it go away.
You gave us kind of a here's the history lesson or the life cycle of the pandemic. How is Fort Hood done versus the rest of the state of Texas or Central Texas in controlling and how have we done as a community?
Yeah, I'll answer that and then I'll let Captain Mendez answer it. So it's very interesting. We do this contact tracing, and that's what his team does a great job of doing. So if somebody turns up positive, and I love to talk about testing because that's something that prior to the vaccination effort was our key sort of center of gravity. And we do a ton of testing, and it helps.
And that's not going away anytime soon.
No, absolutely not. But we do this contact tracing, and it helps us identify the spread that I talked about. Like if we're all sitting here in this room and I turn up positive, you might get a phone call later on saying, hey, you were part of Colonel Malish's contact trace. Go get tested or quarantine or something like that.
Right.
And so we watched the spread. And in the beginning, we saw these big constellations that involved work. So it could be a motor pool, it could be an office setting, it could be a battalion headquarters, and we saw the disease spread through that. Sure. Now our constellations are much smaller, and that indicates good use of PPE, social distancing, quarantine, and isolation. Right. The problem is we're seeing many more cases, and what I sort of briefed to the headquarters, it's because we have these overlays like the acetate maps that you put on top. So we have the work community. Then I have my family bubble or my family group, and then I have a social group. And if I'm a 24-year-old soldier or something like that, my social group would be bigger than what mine is. Sure. As a married guy with a 7-year-old daughter. But anyway, and so these constellations are 3D, right? They're not. They move up and down, and there's all sorts of mixing of these bubbles. But one thing that I'm pleased to see is that we're not spreading it in our work environment. So there's discipline, which is key. Key is discipline amongst our soldiers and civilians on base. Now we're still getting COVID-19, and
sure.
There's a lot of, I would call it broad community spread right now. It's just our contact tracing is showing it's not from work colleagues, and we're not spreading it within our work environments either.
Okay.
But there's broad community spread. We're not spared from that. The good news for us, and it's relatively good news, is that our population tends to do okay with it. In other words, our hospital has not yet become overwhelmed.
Right.
And that was always the key.
And we're seeing that elsewhere. Yeah.
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
And remember, back in the day, again, I like to think about the history of this. Remember Flatten the Curve?
Yes.
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 And so you don't hear about that as much anymore, but the whole purpose of Flatten the Curve, and that was defensive mitigation, wearing the mask and social distancing and everything like that, was to get the curve so that it was broad and flat, so you never overwhelm the hospital. And I think we've attained that. Although we get nervous from time to time that you won't probably hear about when our ICU, for example, has more, a lot of our beds occupied or a lot of the vents in use or something like that.
Sure.
But we've been able, in the Central Texas area, has been able to maintain it. But your question was, how are we doing in Fort Hood? And I think we're doing a good job with the discipline that we're exerting on base. We're just exposed to the same risk factors as everybody else in Killeen and Central Texas. And so we do tend to get it quite a lot. And the good news being, we probably spread it a lot, but we don't get terribly sick with it.
Right.
Yeah. Basically, Sarah, I'm just going to piggyback on some of the things you're saying. We are part of the community. As much as there is a gate, that gate, it does not stop this virus, right? No. So he properly mentioned we have family members, so we have different circles. We are lucky that within base, we have been able to control what we can control.
Right.
The mask wearing is a different direction that come directly from 3 Corps and are sent out throughout the different units. But yeah, the fact is that our soldiers, during their time off, and their families could potentially have bring the virus back to our lineup. Now, with that said, we are basically mirroring what Bell County does. We are very close to what we see out there. We kind of see it in here, minus the work exposure.
Okay.
And that's basically because we're part of the community.
We did touch on it. The testing center is still a very important part of this process. And I was kind of joking, well, how long is that going to go on? But really, how long is that going to be a important part of what we're doing here? Testing.
So I think it'll and again, I like to talk about the history. In the very beginning, testing was a challenge for us. We didn't have all the equipment. The reagent was in short supply, and so there was this supply chain tension or worry that would, and sometimes our machine would go down and we would develop a backlog. Not our machine, but we wouldn't get the reagents we needed, so we would develop backlog. And I'm going to bring up a comparison here in a second. Right now, we've streamlined the whole process. So we've got these high volume machines that can test 1,000 or more patients at once. So we can do high volume testing. We also have other machines that can test patients in the hospital one by one, et cetera. But it went through an evolution. And the reason I bring it up is we're in the beginning stages of that very, very same evolution, but now with the vaccine. Right. So it's going to reach, and that'll be enduring. And sir, I know and Brianna, you know, Kevin, that we have a high volume testing platform, which is our drive-through, respiratory drive-through.
Sure.
And that took a little while to build, but it's been hyper functional.
Yeah, that's
doing
great.
Doing
You've
great.
been tested how many times?
Twice.
Yeah.
But once was just to travel to Hawaii.
Sorry.
Right. So I'm glad you had a good experience.
Yeah,
but we're going to do that very same thing for the vaccine, and in 2 or 3 months from now, like these little tensions, these ups and downs that we're worried about, these patients are high-risk patients who are so anxious to get it, because for them the threat is much different than it is for our younger people. The supply and demand will meet, and we'll have a smooth functioning process. We just have to get there, and I think it'll be a month or two before we get there. But I was just on a phone call earlier with the higher headquarters here, who's helping us put this out, and the general officer there said he predicts that the supply of the vaccine, which is now the limiting factor. Sure. We get this vaccine and we get it out, and then we have to wait for more. The supply of the vaccine is predicted to be not an issue by mid or almost early February. And then we'll have
soon.
Yes, and then we'll have a high volume. We're building a high volume vaccination plan, and these individuals who are so concerned about getting it.
Then it becomes sell the shot, right?
Yeah, sell. What, for profit?
I mean, getting people in there that,
yes, yeah. And that's what we're doing too, is policing up. So there's no lack of demand in our older population.
Absolutely.
But we also have to police up and make sure that the reason why our younger people didn't get the shot was because they learned about it and they actively declined it. And whatever that reason is, fine. We're not gonna make a judgment call on them in one way or another. But what we don't know is what's the gap. Who hasn't declined and who hasn't got and then those we need to go out and say, hey, why haven't you got the shot? Are you concerned? And help educate them. And that's something that we're working on in between these vaccination efforts. And
as far as how important the test is going to be, it's going to continue to be very important because, again, this depends on your risk factors. And then just from a diagnosis perspective, along with your other comorbidities that you may have, for a physician making their clinical decisions, the test is always going to be important. And then again, for me as a public health nurse, it's a reportable disease, so it will always be very important for me to know where COVID is.
Colonel Malish, if there was one thing you wanted to leave the Fort Hood community with, parting thought, or just where are we? I mean, the floor is yours.
Yeah,
really.
no, I appreciate it. Well, first of all, I want to thank you guys for giving us a sort of a microphone. So it's not microphone. What's the word I'm looking for?
You got
a megaphone. A megaphone. To sort of talk about this. And one thing I want to say is my gratitude for a couple things for the team that's at CRDMC.
Yes, sir.
I mean, Captain Mendez is just an excellent example, but and Miss Kate is here with us as well, who helps us get word out and communicate with our beneficiaries. But on the 16th of March, that's when we set up an emergency operations center. And this is, sir, and Brianna, I'm not sure if you've deployed, but it's like a deployment emergency operations center. And we've been doing operations for almost a year now, and the team is just excellent. So I want to express publicly my debt of gratitude to that awesome team. And I think we're doing the best we can. We're not perfect. We learn, but we learn.
Nobody's perfect,
right? We adapt and we move on. And I think we're doing as good a job as we can. And when we miss the mark, we adjust fire and we move forward. And then I wanted to thank, this isn't just CRDMC, it's a whole of Fort Hood approach. So you mentioned, sir, 1st Med Brigade. We've got the 3 Corps headquarters here. The leadership has, come on board. They amplify messages and get the messages out. And these are the things that have kept us safe. It's a leadership and discipline that keeps it from spreading. And so, I'm really appreciative of the group there. And then, I just would reiterate, we're getting there. The vaccine is going to be here, and I like to look back at where we started from, where we're going. We're on another step in that journey.
Sure.
And in 2 months, we're going to be looking at sort of a different operational environment, and I think we'll have ample vaccine.
In 2 months, we would love to have you back.
Yes, we'll have ample vaccine.
Hey, how about that update?
Right, and we won't be talking about who can get the vaccine, et cetera. Everybody can get it. It'll be in the CVS and all the pharmacies, and we'll have a different problem set. But it won't be where do I go to get my vaccine? Do we have to encourage people to get vaccinated, et cetera? So those would be my closing points. I'm really grateful to be with this great group of people. I can assure you that we take this super seriously, and then I'm gonna probably steal Captain Mendez's last point. Keep it up. So I do have this enormous sense of optimism. There's light at the end of the tunnel, but it doesn't mean drop your guard. Now more than ever, as we're seeing this broad community spread,
sure,
we have to, and this would be the point to say, okay, there's light at the end of the tunnel. Let me let up with my discipline. Now is the time to continue, isolate yourself when sick, quarantine yourself when you think you've been exposed, social distance. Matt, it's just going to be a couple more months, maybe a year. But now is not the time to say, okay, there's light at the end of the tunnel. Let's drop our guard. So those are my points. I'll turn it over to Captain Mendez.
Man, so those are my.
I stole it. Yeah.
So I'll go to this one then. So yes, right now it's not widely available. So start making your decision. I think that would be my closing points. To start thinking about it. Find out whether you want to take it or not, and if you don't want to take it, what are you going to do about it? Yeah. Are you going to continue doing social distancing for a year, like you mentioned, sir? Or is there another way that maybe you yourself can be persuaded to go ahead and take it? Again, the education is out there. reach out to your provider, start talking to those people who have gotten it, because I've gotten a few champions out there. They're out there walking somewhere, because I tell almost every single person that I can, reach out to those champions and find your why.
Well, gentlemen, thank you very much for coming on this week. It's been enlightening, to say the least. Brianna, what do you think?
I think it's great. All the work you guys have been doing and will continue to do for the Fort Hood community is just wonderful. I can't thank you guys enough. They're the ones that are keeping us going.
Front lines.
Yeah, front line. I mean, where's that applause?
Where we at?
Yes, thank you.
Applause. And gentlemen, one more time, thank you very much. And we will be back with final thoughts right after this.
Nobody likes needles. The folks at Fort Hood's Robertson Blood Center get it. But giving blood means giving the gift of life. January is National Blood Donor Month. Help celebrate it by giving the folks at Robertson Blood Center a call to schedule yourself to give a gift that could save a life. Write down this number, 285-5808. That's the Robertson Blood Center at 285-5808. Give them a call and give till it hurts. Okay, it doesn't hurt that much, unless you really don't like needles. Then you can look away when they stick you. I actually passed out once while getting blood drawn, but that's because I forgot to eat something that morning and smoked a half pack of cigarettes before walking in. Don't ever do that. But the best part is, when I'm done, you get...
Let your voice be heard at BOSS.
What's BOSS?
BOSS stands for Better Opportunities for Single Soldiers and serves the single service member community, active, guard, and reserve, as well as single parents, geographical bachelors, all U.S. military service branches, and foreign service members assigned to the installation. The BOSS program is based on quality of life, community service, and recreation and leisure. As a member of BOSS, have a voice in how you live, how you spend your leisure time, and how you support the community around you. BOSS membership and the program's available leadership and project management roles also will enhance your promotion package. For more information about how you can become a BOSS member, visit our website at hood.armymwr.com.
Fort Hood's Great Big Podcast. Your tax dollars at work.
Too bad you missed that interview, Kelvin.
Yes.
The Army was calling you away. And
We
there
missed
you
you.
were.
Yeah.
But you're back.
I'm here.
So glad you're back. And, closing thoughts, all that stuff. Brianna, what's going on at the First Cav Band?
Well, we've been a little busy. We've been recording for the new First Cav Museum.
It's not the First Cav Museum. National Mounted
That's
Warrior
right.
Museum.
The National Mounted Warrior Museum.
Yeah.
There's no acronym for that. There's no easy acronym.
NMWM. Okay.
Yeah. The NUM Museum. The band, we recorded another piece for the museum that will play when you press a little button inside.
Walk in the atrium and hit a button and get serenaded with what? What did you record?
So we did Saber and Spurs this time. So another march, of course. That's what we do. So the first march.
I know that one. Hum a few bars.
It goes da 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 da. Wait. Oh, well, let me do the melody. Hold on, because that's the opening. Ba 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 ba. I
can name that tune in 10 notes, right?
First, it kind of sounded like Britney Spears.
Oh.
What is toxic?
Yeah.
No.
Oh, yeah.
But, lovely.
Yes.
Love
yeah.
it. I'm sure it would sound better when the whole band is.
Oh yeah, like 1,000 times better.
And
than,
you guys
than
aren't just
now.
going bum, right? You're actually playing music.
Yes,
Cool.
yes. Mr. Steve Draper came out. He's a friend of the band. And,
Oh yeah.
And he, he was there, supported us. That was really nice. And I hope I sounded good along with everybody else.
Very good.
We took a lot of takes, so some of them weren't as good as the others.
So how many of these are you gonna do? Do you know?
I don't.
Just a bunch.
I thought the first one was going to be the only one, but now they just keep asking us. So
Tell me, you played him Gary Owen, right?
we have not done Gary Owen.
Well,
Isn't that weird?
Come on. It's at every Cav.
I know the tradition,
you know.
ceremony. Yeah, we haven't done that yet.
Yeah. Wow. Well, you can pretty much guarantee you're gonna play that one.
Probably.
Yeah. But that's
Yeah.
exciting.
Yeah, it's fun.
You know, they did break ground on it late last year. It's going to be out by the Horse Cab Detachment, out by the Visitors Center, so you don't actually have to go on post to go see the museum.
That'll be great.
Kind of cool.
That would be
But
cool.
I think, all right, they broke ground. I think it's 2022,
Oh,
some point. I don't think it won't be open.
yeah. Well,
But
it'll be a while.
The first segment, the first section, because they're building it in 3 sections.
Oh.
The first section is supposed to be done next year.
Do we still have time to submit a brick for the Fort Hood podcast?
Oh yeah,
we mentioned doing that.
I know we did, but
Is there a website? I don't remember.
oh yeah,
Okay, I'll look into it.
National Mounted Warfare Foundation.
Okay.
They say it's weird because the museum is the National Mounted Warrior Museum, but the folks that are, paying for it to go up, because hey, Uncle Sam ain't paying for this.
Yeah.
This is donations.
Donations.
Is the National Mounted Warfare Foundation. So there you have it.
Well, we have to prove to Charlie that he was wrong about the podcast being dead before the brick being laid.
Well, we'll see. Never say never. Kelvin, come on, man. You've been real quiet over there. Tell me what's up, and we'll move on out smartly because we're almost out of time this week.
Well, I'll be honest with you. I'm quiet because I'm hangry. I just got caught in an hour-long conversation, which I don't really mind. It's cool, but I'm really hungry here. I probably feel like you feel every time you eat one of those
Meals.
things you eat. So, well,
Oh, yeah. I had a lovely bar of something or another that was worth about 200 calories. That was lunch.
Ugh.
Yeah.
I don't even know
Wow.
what to eat.
You're
now.
more chipper than I was expecting into this.
I'll survive, I guess. The first 2 days were awful.
Yeah.
I mean, awful.
I'm glad I missed those.
Yep. I was ready to eat my elbow off or something.
Oh,
It
no.
was just not good.
Do you have a calorie intake limit? Is there a limit? How many calories?
No, not the limit, but if I only ate what the nutrition company sent me, because you can have like fruit and vegetables on the side. If I only ate what they gave me, I would only eat 800 calories a day.
That is.
I feel like
crazy.
that's dangerous.
That is. And the reason I brought that up is because
Excuse
my
me.
friend, she's on a diet, and I was like, "Well, what's your calorie intake?" She said 1,100. I was like,
That's not bad.
It depends on the how big.
I would
for
probably
a guy that's
die.
way low.
I mean, it seems super low, super low.
Really?
I'm not starving myself for anybody. This is what hangry gets. I'm actually angry right now talking about
Well,
food.
think about it. 1 pound equals 1,000 calories. And
Math is
I
hard.
lost, and I lost a pound a day last week.
Oh,
Yay.
congratulations! That is
Yeah.
that is outstanding.
I
You're
had to
doing
wait
great.
till like Sunday because I slept most of Saturday. Other than the Packer game, right? Sunday was the first day I actually went out and jogged in a week because I didn't have the energy,
Yeah.
and it was like,
Now you're just getting used to it. Your body's like, okay.
yeah, but it was actually kind of cool because I jogged the 2 miles and then walked them. Ended up doing 5K, but the mile point whatever was just walking. I had knocked off almost a minute because I had knocked off 7 pounds.
That's good.
That's
on
awesome.
the pace. So, hey, if I can knock off another minute for every 10 pounds, I'll be
Cheat
happy.
day coming. Cheat day? Is that?
Cheat day is this weekend.
Oh,
I got to get through. Yeah, it's 13 straight days on that.
Woo.
It's coming.
And then you get a day where, now I still got to keep my calories, not at 700 or 800, but
yeah,
got to keep them under
normal levels.
Yeah. Normal level for me is like to lose 2 pounds a week, 1,800 calories a day.
Now, see, that's doable.
Wow.
That's doable.
Yeah.
That's
That'll
very
help
doable.
you. That'll help me lose 2 pounds a week,
That's good.
Wow.
not 7 in a week.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that's not including any exercise. So
That's
exercise
the key.
on that. Yeah. 5K for me is 500 calories. That's a half a pound.
Well, your New Year's resolution.
I love it though when you run and it's really hot and you sweat. I know it's all water weight, but you get to fool yourself. I just lost 2.5 pounds.
That's
Running
all
in
it
the
takes.
summertime, man, it's like that for me all the time because it just pours off.
Yeah.
Texas
And
humidity.
it's hot.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Texas, gotta love it, right?
Yes.
So next week, January is, and I know we mentioned it in last week's show, but it deserves mentioning again. January is National Blood Donor Month, and we are expecting to welcome in Major Molly House, and she is from the Robertson Blood Center right here at Fort Hood.
Nice.
So kind of keeping it medical for the rest of the month, right?
Yeah. I've
they-
given blood there.
Do they still give out cookies? I'm really
Yes.
They
hungry.
always give
They
you
do.
I mean, I'm really hungry.
They have
I'm like,
all the snacks.
No, it's
Good
only
donate
half a
some
block
blood right
down,
now.
down the
Yeah.
road,
I'll do anything for a cookie right about now.
All right, you ready to go?
He's ready to go.
I'm already gone.
All right, take us out of here, Kelvin.
Okay, until next time, I'm going to get some food. Everybody, thanks for listening. Bye.
Driving down the road again. Guitar starts thin and cracks crumble to gravel lines. Just on the travel though.